Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 13th of January, 2021, and this is episode 322 of Hump Day Hangouts. So if you're watching this, thanks for joining us, or at least thanks for watching the replay. Either way, we're happy you're checking it out. And before we dive into questions, which we have several this week, we are going to say hi to everybody. And we got a couple quick announcements. So let's get into that. I'm going to go counterclockwise here. And Marco, you're first up. How you doing today?
Oh, imagine that. I'm good, man. What's up? I mean, look at this. Look at this. I can't help it. I keep telling you guys I was going to do this for a year. I was going to show my camera and show the weather in Costa Rica because I spent the previous, it was like, what, 5 years saying how beautiful the weather was, but never turned on the webcam. Well, now, here it is. This is what you get. You're seeing it every week. As a matter of fact, when I do the other webinars, the camera's on and the weather's the same. It doesn't change. Groundhog Day. Po. Well,
talking of the webinars, we'll circle back in a minute, Marco. I'm going to say hi to everybody, and then, I want to make sure everyone's on board about the webinar. So, Chris, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I don't know, like I'm thinking about moving to another country here, like because like I don't know, like they're discussing of lockdowns till Easter, and I've had it pretty much. So like that's definitely not my profile.
Yeah. Gotcha. I thought this was going to be about it being dark and cold, but yeah, fair enough.
No, like that would actually be nice, like if I would be able to go snowboarding and stuff, but yeah, not the case.
All right. Well, somebody was sending me pics of themselves in the gym yesterday. It was none other than Hernan. So somebody's been keeping up the routine, man. Good on you for being able to do that and stick to your workout program, man. How you doing?
Not. Good, man. Good. I'm good. I'm just enjoying Marco's Boca Juniors shirt. That's pretty cool. So he's represented, and I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm pretty good. Yeah. I mean, as long as the gym doesn't close, I'll keep on going. So cool. Up until, when I stop sending you pictures because they close. So
well, that was good. And everyone is Hernan was being safe. He's got a face mask, doing all that. They got people spread out. So it's good to see. But yeah, man, that's impressive. You've been able to keep up your routine for most of this time. So good on you. Bradley, last but not least, how you doing today?
Good, man. Happy to be here. Busy as all can be, which is a good start to this year. So got a lot of stuff cooking. Anxious to share it, but I can't just yet, but it's coming. So we'll talk about that when it's ready.
So on the personal side, I know it's cold, in Virginia this time of year, but you get out, you like getting out in the mountains, doing the ATV stuff. Have you been able to do any of that, or is it kind of downtime for that?
Well, I did it for the New Year's weekend, for a long weekend, went and rode then, but yeah, it's definitely slower this time of year. I don't do as much riding. It's more about maintenance on the machines, rebuilding and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I try to ride when I can, but it's not as fun when it's stupid cold. Yeah. That's for sure. So it'll probably be another 4 or 5 weeks before I go on another ride.
You gotta upgrade to snowmobiles to a proper one. Those are fun.
No, and 90% of the people I ride with all ride in those side-by-sides, which are like those little cars, right? Like the buggies that have enclosures, roll cages. A lot of them have heaters and they have stereos and all this shit. Not me. I ride a sport quad, 4-wheelers, like 2-wheel drive, and I don't want any of that shit. They all try to talk me into buying those side-by-sides, and I'm not interested in that. I like the actual the sport ATVs. So,
well, this might be a little bit too much in the personal stories, but it reminds me when I moved to upstate New York. I'd never been in a place where you get snow that long, and we moved there when there wasn't snow, and we were like walking along or driving along, and you'd see little stop signs. They're like this big, and they'd be like waist height. They're like here, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
Crossing.
Yeah, I'm like, who's driving here? And I had to wait till winter. I felt stupid. I didn't want to ask him one. Then I was like, I get it. Yeah, it's all the snowmobile trails.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Marco, like I said, full circle. If you can let people know what's going on with the webinars, the charity, how things are going with that, can you do that now?
Well, I'm getting them set up. We've had some people shuffle around, but I am planning to start them on January 25th, regardless whether people are on schedule or not, but because we just have so much information to give. what's working. I don't know how much. I usually give away the farm because I'm using, I mean, I told you guys yesterday how I'm using a certain thing for SEO, not just for what everyone else is using it for. And to get fantastic results just everywhere. It's a great SEO tool, but people, and a link building tool, as a matter of fact, but people don't see it that way, and I don't understand why. We're supposed to be SEOs, we're supposed to be scientists, and we're supposed to be investigating. And when we're at this point, at the technical point, we're supposed to be able to understand how things work and why. And so when you do that, you say, oh, okay. So if this is this way, then I can do all of the things here and I can push it. So now you understand where you're concentrating the power and how it concentrates, and you can push it. But the underlying power behind all this is when you give people the correct brand, the correct entity, you make all of the associations of everything that's about your brand on the web, and it's like a Christmas tree. It just lights up. Rob did a fantastic job in a webinar. Oh, no, sorry, Pofu Live, of explaining why. And he showed it. He showed Google, and he showed what it is that we do. And he made the comparison, which I wasn't expecting him to go that far, but it's amazing to see how much we just mimic what's going on, how much we mimic these what would we call them, aggregated data points on all these nodes on the web, and how it is that we can then give Google what Google is looking for, which is, what is your entity about? What is your thing on the web? What is this thing about? Please tell me more, because I need to know. And the more that you tell Google, the more that you get rewarded. So we're going to go in deep into that. It's going to be 5 or 6 different webinars, hour and a half, and the questions and answers. And Rob will be there. Jordan's going to be there. Dixon Jones of InLinks is going to be there, confirmed. Nice. And so we just got fantastic people coming to tell you how even unstructured data can be, in a way, structured so that it works for the bot. So it's just a fantastic concept of, one, unstructured data working with your structured data in a way so that everything comes together. And if I confuse you a bit, I understand, because these are like heavy concepts, but we're going to try to break it down during the webinars. So look for it. I'll go ahead and post the donation page on the events page. Guys, all you have to do is go and donate, send an email to the email address that I'll give you, and you'll be put on the list, and you will be notified of when the first webinar is. It'll be on the 25th, probably 5 p.m. Eastern. Don't hold me to that. Probably. Okay? So there you go. Donate whatever you can.
Yeah, if you're checking out the replay, go to semanticmastery.com/HD questions. If you're watching this on YouTube, and you can see the questions there, and you'll be able to see the links Marco has and what exactly to do. And if you guys have any confusion at all about this, just send an email to support@semanticmastery.com. We'll get you sorted out. Cool. All right. Well, first things first, if you're new to Semantic Mastery, new to MGYB, you're in the right place. That we appreciate you watching, and just wanted to say one of the first things you should do is head over to theseoshield.com. You can find out how to shield your site. You don't have to worry about algorithm updates again, and it's free training. Get started there. You'll hear us talking about the SEO Shield. So if nothing else, it's worthwhile to figure out what's going on there. I know a lot of you already know, but occasionally we get people each week showing up that are new and haven't heard of it. That's a great place to get started. Next step for that, if you want repeatable processes for your SEO and getting results, pick up the battle plan, and you can get that at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. After that, we also hear a lot from agency owners or consultants. If you want to get more clients, you want to grow your revenue, you want to scale your team, and the answer to those should probably be yes, depending on where you're at, so that you can work less and earn more, then head over to 2xyouragency.com. All right, we got a lot more information there for you. And last but certainly not least, if you're ready to grow your digital marketing business, then you want to join an experienced community. All right, and that is what the mastermind is all about. And there's more information at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And I said last but not least, but I guess I kind of slipped up there because I mentioned the SEO Shield. If you want to get an SEO Shield, if you want to get links, if you want to get press releases, you want to get all of this good stuff, you can find out more at mgyb.co. And that is the done for you services with all that good stuff I just mentioned. So with that said, you guys, any other announcements before we dive into the questions?
Good
All
in
right.
mind.
Let's do it.
All right, let me grab the screen. You guys are seeing it now, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so I pulled this up because this was a blog post on Majestic, the Majestic blog that Rob shared back in December. They posted it, they published it December 15th, but this is about the link graph that Majestic now has this tool that shows. This is what Marco was talking about, guys. This is what we optimize for when we do entity-based SEO. It's to mimic or to build this sort of a structure. Does that make sense? So that's what Marco was just now talking about in the opening, was about how we build all these nodes. And that's why we always talk about increasing your entity, expanding your entity footprint, right? The footprint is always in the SEO world, people always think footprint is a bad thing, but when it comes to the semantic web, it's not. When you're talking about reinforcing and validating the entity, which is a really, really good blog post. By the way, I pasted this link in the chat box, guys, so you can scroll down and find it and click through. Spend some time reading through this. It's pretty cool, and it will hopefully shed some light on what it is that we're actually doing when we do what we do. So, Marco, you want to comment on that before I move on to
Well,
questions?
you know, they focus on trust flow and citation flow, which is nothing about nothing, because it's their interpretation of an algorithm or how they place value on links, which to me, it just makes absolutely no sense unless you have a really powerful website, in which case, yeah, I do go use their software to see. But yeah, the way that so all of those red dots on there are nodes on the web. The lines are, of course, the connections between those nodes. And if you think of this in this space that we call the World Wide Web, which is simply servers, you know, those red nodes can be servers, or they can be within the servers, nodes within the servers. But the only way that Google can get to those are through links. That's why this is called a link graph. Those lines are representations of what the links are between those nodes. Otherwise, what you're seeing is what do you call it? An ad ID, which is an identifier for the node. You name the node. So this works two ways, because you can identify the node for Google in code, and then you can show what the relationship is between those links, between those nodes, not only through the link, but through code. And you can tell Google through code exactly how these links and how all of these nodes relate to one another within your link graph, within your entity, and I'll call it within your entity link graph, because it's going to be everything that's related to your entity rather than everything that's on the web, which I think is what the representation is here.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Marco. So we'll get into questions now. All right. So the first question looks like, I think for Blake SEO from a week ago. He says, what do you do with WordPress tags, and why would you use them when categories mainly serve a very similar purpose? Well, if you want to see, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this, because I've gone into a lot of detail in our process doc, which if you go to semanticmastery.com/process, go to the website section, then you'll see how I use tags to create location-based silos. Again, I'm not going to go into detail into that right now, guys, because if you want to learn what I'm talking about or know more about what I'm talking about, just go to semanticmastery.com/process, click on the website tab, and then go through the training there. And I talk about how when I'm building local-based sites, right, which is all I do anymore. Well, I say that now. I'm working on something now that's a national site, but anyway, almost everything I do are locally based sites, right? And so for that, I use categories for the topical silos, which is the traditional silo structure, right? The traditional taxonomy in WordPress that we use for silo structure, using categories. But then for location-based silos, I use tags now because you can do some really cool and creative things with tags that you can't do with categories. And it also resolves some conflicts that occur when you try to share subcategories between categories, right? And again, I talk about all of that in semanticmastery.com/process. It's free. You guys can go check that out, and you'll see where I talk about it on a very high conceptual level, because if you want more mechanics on a more technical level of it, of that process, you have to join either Semantic Mastery Mastermind or the Heavy Hitter Club. So, but again, it's on a conceptual level, kind of like a high level overview of why I use tags the way that I use to create location-based silos. It works really, really well. I've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years.
And then Jeffrey Smith, right? SEO Ultimate Training, because he goes in depth about tags also.
Yeah.
And especially semantic tags and the semantic relationships between the tags. And those, again, are nodes and how you connect those nodes. Guys, it's all about, all right, so the recurring theme here is going to be links and how those links function with one another to create all of these relevant semantic relationships.
Yeah. Okay, so Rocket Blaster's up. He says, last Hump Day Hangout, I asked if you can do Google Ads with spammed listings, but I guess what I meant to ask was how do you do it? Because I put my credit card on 2 accounts and my Google Ads were suspended because Google can tell I was using my card for 2 different listings. Well, first of all, I have my credit card across several Google accounts. I've never had that problem. I don't know why some people have that problem. I've never had that problem. Maybe knock on wood, I've been lucky. But I've got my credit card associated with multiple Google accounts, both on the G Suite or Google Workspaces level, but also on Google Ads, a couple, maybe 3 different ads accounts. And so I've never had that issue. So I don't know what the problem is with that, but I've heard other people say that too. So I'm not doubting you there. My question to you though is, why would you set up separate Google Ads accounts? Why not just add a manager account and use your primary Google Ads account to serve ads to even your spammed listings, is my point. If you set yourself up as a manager, or you connect the GMB to your Google Ads account, whatever your primary ads account is, then you can still run ads through your primary account, even to spammed listings, which is what I do. That's how I do everything. I have one primary Google Ads account that, I manage several clients' accounts as well, but that's different. I'm talking about, I run, even for all of the projects that I work on for my own business, I do it all underneath one primary Google Ads account. I have a couple other smaller accounts that I've done some stuff with, but they were more or less test accounts. But so again, if I've got, let's say, and I've said this before, but for a lot of clients, I run ads through my account and I just charge them a flat fee. Like, for example, for YouTube ads, when I run YouTube ads for clients, depending on what the campaign structure is, if it's just a branding ad, which I was doing that for several years, just doing YouTube branding ads for clients, I would charge them $300 a month to run the ads, and that would pay for the ad spend plus my management fees, because I could get away with setting up ad campaigns for $2 or $3 a day. So $60 to $90 per month is what I would use out of that $300 a month that they were paying me. But I would manage it all through my own Google Ads account. That way it was just easier. It was more efficient for me to manage all from one account than for me to constantly be logging in to other Google, Google Ads accounts. So I run everything through my own account, and you can do that. Again, for example, if let's say I was running Google Ads and through my own account for a client, what I would do is I would connect the GMB from my client to my Google Ads account. You can link accounts that way. Okay, it's very simple to do. You can do it from the GMB dashboard, by the way. And then I would link the accounts, and then I would run ads from YouTube, YouTube ads, where the link might be clicking the click, right? The target URL for the ad would link back to their GMB website or their Google Maps listing or their website or a specific landing page, whatever it is that I'm driving traffic to, which could be multiple targets. But it's all done through my account that way. Again, if I've got a client where they're funding the ad account and I'm just acting as a manager and they're just paying me management fees, then I log into their account. Does that make sense? So Rocket Blaster, what I would suggest doing is running ads through one account that you, and that will become your master account. And here's another reason for that, because you guys know if you're not spending a certain threshold of money per month with Google Ads, you have they limit the data that they share with you in that Google Ads account. So why not have one account that you've aged, that you have consistent spend with, and that it just makes it a more, a better account for you to manage. That would be my suggestion. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people mention that they've gotten it suspended for using the same credit card, right, across multiple accounts. That's why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Either you do it the way that you do, or you do it the way that I do, which is just get a whole bunch of credit cards and open a whole bunch of different accounts to run a whole bunch of different ads, so all of your eggs aren't in one basket. I also know that you can well, you can get the virtual cards, right?
Yeah.
But you can create an endless amount of numbers through that virtual card. The problem is that if your main card ever gets rejected, then all of the numbers related to that card are also going to get rejected. Then everything comes down. Again, putting all your eggs in one basket. You just have to be sure that it's something that you keep an eye when it's going to expire. You always keep it fully funded. You never miss any payments. You really have to be careful, because I know someone that got tagged. He was using the virtual card with virtual numbers, and I mean, literally dozens and dozens of numbers, and everything came crashing down.
Yeah. Okay, so Rocket Blaster says, one more question. I received my press release, and in the Excel file was a list of URLs. Can I build backlinks to those different press release URLs that came in the Excel file? Yeah, you can. There's only one thing that I would suggest. Why not to do that? Which would be because some press release, publication points, right? They purge, 90 days, 6 months, whatever it may be. So if you're building links to press release URLs that in 90 days or 180 days or whatever the threshold is, the time frame is that they purge, then when that platform deletes that press release from the site, then you've just lost all that link building that you've done to that particular URL. It's not that you can't do it. You absolutely can. If you're in a regular cycle of link building and press release publishing, then it's okay, because it's natural looking to have links, build links to a tier 1 link, and then a tier 1 link disappears. And so it's kind of, natural cycling, life cycle of links, so to speak. But a better way, in my opinion, would be you've got a drive stack, which you should. You've been coming here and asking us questions for weeks. So you should have a drive stack now, an SEO Shield with a drive stack. Why not take that Excel file and upload it as a Google Sheet into one of your public drive stack folders, the appropriate folder if you've done your theme mirroring and your silo expansion stacks and everything. So put it in the appropriate folder, and it will be a public sheet at that point, and then you can build backlinks to that public sheet URL, or you can publish that Google Sheet and get the embed code and do embed gigs from MGYB and link building to the embeds, right? And that's another way to do it. And the reason why I say that is because now you're building links to all of the links in that Excel file, which was all the press release URLs, but you can also update that with additional press release URLs from, that you have published by just copying and pasting them into that same sheet. So in other words, you can power up that one sheet, and you can continue to power up that sheet, and you can just continue to add to that sheet, as opposed to having, if you build links directly to the press release URLs and then they purge, you've lost that link building. Does that make sense? Marco, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I just submit the PDF to Daddy. I just give them that. I just give them the list of links and have them hammer it, and then it goes in a cycle. And if they go, off the active index, then so be it. Because it, like, as you said, it's natural for stuff to fall off. So you shouldn't just be link building to things that are always indexed. If you're going to hit everything, then just go ahead and hit it. Or if you're going to do link building, hit everything. And if it falls off, well, so be it. Yeah, you did lose that, but you're still powering up everything else. And by all means, include that PDF and that spreadsheet from those press releases in the drive stack. include those so that every time you link build into your drive stack, into the gsite, whatever, it's always getting links. So you're constantly link building. Not only, yeah, you'll be link building to shit that's probably not in the index, but the ones that do stay, the permanent ones, then they get constantly, they get constant page rank and ranking score.
Yeah. And so there's one other thing that you can do that would kind of stack our methods, which is kind of what I always try to do, which is take your gsite from your SEO Shield, right? Your Google site, create a page on it in the appropriate place within a proper silo structure, and then embed, take the folder, and you can embed that folder into the gsite. And now you can just take all of your Excel files for each press release that you get for that particular, make sure it's siloed correctly, but for that particular subject or topic or whatever, and you can upload them into that gsite folder, that drive stack folder, and that folder is embedded into a gsite page, and you can constantly hit that gsite page with backlinks. And each time you have new press releases, you just add another Excel file, which becomes a sheet, into that public folder, and they're all going to benefit from that one gsite page that you just keep hammering with links. So that's another way to do it, so that you get more bang for your buck, so to speak. You just got to get creative, guys. If you understand, what we talk about with theme mirroring, and again, go to semanticmastery.com/process. A lot of that is explained there, or you can go to the SEO, that's THE SEO Shield, the SEOshield.com. Sign up for the 4-day training. It's free, and go through all that, and you'll start to get more of an understanding of what it is that we're doing with the gsite, the drive stacks, and you can start to use that structure to your benefit. Okay. All right. He says, lastly, I bought local GMB Pro, and I am trying to follow these steps to rank my GMB listings. Okay. Yeah, you can do a ton of stuff with gsite, guys, and the whole SEO Shield, that it's just insane. I mean, take your GMB posts and embed them. There's just so much stuff that you can do, and you could use the gsite for primarily everything. So. All right, Mark Suppy says, is it a good idea to buy social signals from a place like SEO Butler and point these to the branded syndication ring, post URLs for a boost, or are they better spent directly to the money site? It's a good question. I don't know. I haven't bought social signals in probably 3 or 4 years. I just stopped doing it because I did a test 3 or 4 years ago, testing social signals directly to the properties that I was trying to rank, and I didn't see any purchased social signals. If they were organic social signals, those tend to have an effect. But if they're just spammed social signals, I didn't see any at all movement, period, from my test about 3 or 4 years ago. And I tested, I think, 5 or 6 different social signal services. SEO Butler, I can't remember if that was, it's not SEO Butler anymore, but I can't remember if that was one of them or not. It might have been, there was a service that I saw a little bit of movement from that was tiered social signals, which would be like, you'd share the money page, or the service would share the money page to some social profiles, and then there would be activity on that shared post from that social profile, if that makes sense. So in other words, like one of the Facebook share profiles, it would share the target URL, what I was trying to promote, and then there would be comments, likes, and shares of that Facebook post, if that makes sense. That had a little bit of an effect. And that was, again, 3 or 4 years ago. It's probably 4 years ago now. But that was the only one that had any effect on SEO from my test, again, several years ago. Things may have changed, but I can't imagine that spam social signals got any more powerful. In fact, it's logical that it's more, it's tiered social signals, and having relevancy, and all of that, I think would be more important, which is, again, why I just don't buy fake social signals anymore. So I can't tell you whether that would help or not, because I just don't know. I don't think that it would, but I haven't tested it. What do you think, Marco?
I think we talked about this last week. So I suggest that you go. No, listen, it's not that I don't want to answer, and I'm going to give you a further answer, but go back and watch our answer from last week, because we really went into detail on this. What I am going to tell you is you're better off buying the social signals from the social media that you're trying to target. And you can send people to other places, or you can send them to your website, wherever it is that you want to send these people. And now what you're doing is you're sending someone that might, and if you've done a really good job of targeting this person and reaching out and putting the ad in front of the person that's looking for it, you're likely to get a conversion. Whereas if you're just buying some odd social signals from whomever, they're not really interested in your stuff. They're not interested in buying. And that conversion is not likely to happen. I'm always going to go with how I'm likelier to get a conversion. So if I can pay Facebook for ads, Hernan does a great job. If I can pay Instagram, if I can pay whomever, and it doesn't take a lot. I'm telling you, you said at the beginning, a $200 a month budget. It might sound like a lot, it's $2,400 a year. But within a couple of months, it should run itself. The ads should run themselves, and you should make enough money from that where you can start investing more money into your ads if you're going to use them, right, for social signals, for branding, and however else it is that you want to use them, but also because these people will convert. At the end of the day, these are people who are interested enough in your ad to click on it to see what it is that you're trying to sell or whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, and just to kind of expand on that briefly is think about relevancy, right? When you're buying spam social signals, they're just, I mean, even if the profiles have been built up to look real and things like that, if those profiles that are being used to produce or provide those social signals, chances are there is a huge wide range of, you know, topics that profile is interested in, right? That has an affinity for, right? Does that make sense? So it's going to be very, very broad. And I guess that's okay. But my point is, if you can buy social signals from real people, from true relevant audiences, right? So people that have a genuine interest. How do you do that? Well, you can do it from Facebook. You can do it in Google now, which you can go in and it's called intent-based or interest-based targeting, right? So you can go in and you can buy traffic from, I do Google ads. I don't do any Facebook ads. I just don't. So I'm going to speak about this from the Google ad standpoint. You can go into Google ads and from YouTube or from the display network, whatever, you can go in and buy in-market audiences or life event audiences, or you can create your own audiences, right? So interest-based targeting. So you can go in and it's called a custom audience, and you can do that through keywords and or URLs of sites that somebody that would be interested in your product or service that you're trying to promote would likely be visiting. And so Google will create your own custom audience based upon the intent criteria or the interest criteria that you set. So now if you're buying traffic signals from a real relevant audience that has a true or genuine interest in the product and or service that you're trying to promote, then now you're getting that activity, relevance, trust, and authority signals, right? Art that we always talk about, directly to your properties. And then if they decide to engage by liking, sharing, whatever, commenting, then now you've got an even heavier weighted signal than just buying spam social signals from general profiles out there that, you know, have no true affinity or interest in any one thing. Does that make sense? It's a heavier weighted signal is my point. So again, I don't know. I haven't tested any spam social signals in years. I just stopped using them years ago because I didn't see any benefit in them. So I just don't know if anything has changed. I can't imagine that they've gotten any stronger though. So
I mean, there is some benefit. There is to like jumpstart, but if it's not replaced by real signals, it just dies.
yeah,
That's what I've seen. I don't know. Some people, I don't know. I see them in Facebook. Sometimes they say that they have success with spamming all of these things. I see it. I see the kickstart, and then I see it die up. Because you guys know, I'll test in Fiverr. I'll go and buy some. I'll go and see someone say, okay, Pinterest, good enough for AdSense. I'll go check it out. Pinterest, good, or this traffic or that traffic, good enough for this, and I'll go test it out. Yeah. But no. It never has the power or the effect or the ability to make you money like real ads, real people interested in whatever it is that you're doing.
Okay, so the next question says, I have a shopping cart website that is the root domain. However, I decided to diversify my website to create subdirectory blogs using WordPress to create different niches. I have 50 WordPress niche blogs and directories. How do I market my niche sites with GMB? You know, local is relative. We talk about that, or Marco always says that. I don't know how much I can talk about it
No.
here because yeah, Marco's saying no.
No.
Yeah, I don't know how much we can talk about it here, but I would suggest either joining the Heavy Hitter Club or local GMB Pro. Although you have to local GMB Pro, you get access to the Facebook group, but then you'd be able to get questions answered on how to apply that on a national level as well. But you can do a lot of really cool things with GMBs, and it doesn't have to be like a strictly local business, right? I still, I don't know, because I don't know exactly what your setup here is, but 50 that's a lot of damn WordPress blogs to be maintaining. So, I don't know what you're doing with that, but yeah, again, I'm sorry, I can't really get into detail here, but we talk about how you can use GMB for kind of what Marco was talking about at the very beginning of this webinar. There's some really powerful things you can do with GMB on even a national or even a global scale, for even projects or businesses that aren't technically local businesses. It makes sense to have a GMB because of some of the things that you can do with that. That's about as far as I can take it in a free setting like this. Come join the mastermind or Heavy Hitter Club or local GMB Pro, and we'd be happy to give you a lot more guidance on that.
The method that I'm using right now, how I'm using like local GMB. Okay, let's make this clear. Local GMB Pro, I'm still using to get fantastic results locally. That hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed about local GMB Pro and why we have not updated the training is that you need to fill out as much of the information as possible before you send for that pin if you're going to get a pin. That's it. That's the only change, so that you never have to go back and change that information, because that'll get you suspended sometimes. Not often, not everyone, not always, but it does get you suspended. So when we go and tell you, optimize your information, get it to 100%, including images, logos, whatever you can get in there, so that you never have to go back, so that you can then focus on the other things that we teach in local GMB Pro. And I'm not going to go into what we teach in local GMB Pro. That to this day is getting me fantastic results. But then I started thinking, because I always do, well, how then do I use this in other ways? And I did. And so now I'm using it. But the only place that I'm teaching this is in the Heavy Hitter Club right now, because I want people to come back, like on what was it, last night on our mini mastermind. Someone came and said, look, I was stuck with a client. I couldn't figure out what to do. I went and I used your GMB method, and within 3 days, I was ranking him. I was getting the results that I needed for him, because the client was complaining. So 3 days, and it's that quick. Why? Because posts, they still index almost automatically, almost immediately, and they stay in there in the mobile index. And then Google gives you notifications on desktop that your post is about to expire. It doesn't. It's still there. It's still in that row in search. And so if you understand, the reason why I don't want to give most of this away is because someone just take it, offer the training from our shit, and say it's theirs. And so I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. Come to our group, and I'll be more than happy to cover this for you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to go over them with you, so that you can get the best results possible, not only nationally, but you can go globally. You can go regionally. You can use this however you want. It just takes just a little bit of tweaking. That's all.
So there you go. Heavy Hitter Club. That's your best bet for that. Also on GMB, how do I show my line of products? Well, depending on what type of GMB it is, like in other words, what type of category, business category you select, you ought to be able to add products into your GMB. For example, even some of the contractor GMB profiles have a section for services that you can add, and also a section for products, which I'm not even sure why, because some of these contractors don't have products that they sell. It's just services, yet some of them still have a products tab available in GMB. And I've never added a product to GMB, just because none of my clients actually sell products. They just sell services. So I've not even explored that tab in GMB, but I know there's one there. So I don't know what category you're in, but it's likely that you will have a product tab in GMB, and you can just go in and add products there, as far as I know. Have you any experience with that, Marco?
Not all, yeah. Not all GMBs have products. and not all GMBs have services.
Right.
It's really interesting. The Google giveth and the Google taketh away. And you just have to work with whatever it is that they're giving you. If you're in a niche where you do have a product, or where you're expected to have a product line, then you will have a product tab available, and then you have to go to the process of getting approved, because there is a process that you have to follow when you're inserting them, and then they have to get approved. Once that happens, then you just keep adding if you have new products, or you just keep promoting your product. It's really that simple.
Yeah, and it's cool because I know it'll push a featured snippet, or a rich snippet, I should say, in the knowledge graph, or knowledge panel with products. It creates like a little product carousel, right? So kind of like the GMB post. So it's pretty cool. By the way, I meant to show this to you earlier, Marco. I'm not going to pull it up now because we're on Hump Day Hangouts. I'll talk about it maybe in the mastermind. But structured data, having the structured data on a local page, like it's really cool now when I do a brand search for a particular company. Like I've got, not only do I have knowledge panel on the right, but at the very top I have position 0 now. It's a cool rich snippet for the brand name with the featured image from that landing page. It's really cool. Like that's the first time I saw it was today. So not only is there a knowledge panel, but there's also a position 0 or rich snippet.
Position 0 rich cool. Snippet.
Yeah, and that's just from having proper structured data on the page. So anyways, next question was, what would be your plan in the event a drive stack or gsite was reported and suspended? You know, I've not experienced that. If I did, I would try to request reinstatement, right? And here's my logic for that. Why would a drive stack or a gsite, especially the gsite, be reported and suspended? I mean, it's a real site, right? I mean, like, unless you're doing something incredibly spammy with it, which we do a lot of that too. It's a real site. Why would it get suspended? You know what I mean? Like my question is, like, it might have been reported and suspended because it might be Google's default to just suspend shit when people complain about stuff, which is, you know, cancel culture at its best. But my point is, like, you know, I would dispute it and ask, try to get it reinstated first. If you can't get it reinstated, which again, I'm not sure why. It doesn't make sense to me for somebody to be able to report something in their gsite to just be taken down, unless you've been doing some really, really spammy shit with it. But I don't know. What do you think, Marco?
The only time I've seen one suspended was when we had meta refresh, and it was going to what do you call it? A form, right? A contact form, because that's phishing. Google takes that as phishing. You can't go from a contact form on Google to somewhere else, and you can't go from Google, especially meta refresh, to a form, because that's a recognized form of phishing. We got tagged for that. We got suspended. Now you got to understand, we've built thousands, literally thousands of these, thousands. And I have remember Paul left. I'm not going to mention his last name, but he was begging us to get one taken down because the government was on him. They were on his brother. He was supposed to take it down. He had to take it down, and he couldn't get in there. And so even reporting it, even trying to get it suspended, and he couldn't do it. I don't know what finally happened. Paul, if you're listening to this, let us know what happened with that gsite and drive stack, because he lost access to it. Is what happened. He lost the logins, whatever it was, and he couldn't get back in to put it private. And so he was having, I'm not laughing at you, man. I'm just laughing at the situation. He was in the situation where his brother was in real trouble, and we couldn't get in there to do anything for him. Google just wouldn't allow it, and they would not suspend it. So looking at this scenario, it isn't likely that someone's going to come along and report you anyway. And if they do, Google trusts itself. We bank on that. I mean, we literally place all of our money on Google trusting itself. Proven. It's not theory, by the way. And so I don't see this. And in the event that Google suspends it, we have the software to put it back up somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, what can I say?
And that's all I would say is, you know, if I were to lose one, I'd rebuild it. right? I mean, I wouldn't rebuild it. I'd have it rebuilt, so to speak. So, but you know, that kind of stuff does happen occasionally. I've not seen a gsite. I've seen a Google account suspended,
Yeah.
but not the actual, just the, you know, drive stack and gsite itself.
No.
So, all right, Ed's up. He says, I understand what an actual embed is. I just don't understand what or how embed packages from MGYB works. I already have my SEO Shield. I did a Nitro Link building package. I'm curious about embeds now. Are these embeds on your network / sites? Yeah. So our link building network, Daddy, our link building manager, has been, you know, building that network and feeding it with additional sites and theming them. So we have like categorized link, you know, Web 2.0 networks that we use for, or that he uses for building links so that we can, you know, there's topical relevancy in the blogs that we're using to build links back to your target URLs. So with the embed package, okay, so you understand the link building side, right? So he's got what, over 2 million now? He's got
I don't know.
millions.
I mean, I'll have to ask him.
Whatever. He's got millions, a million plus Web 2.0 sites that networks that are themed, aged, topically, you know, themed into topical categories, excuse me. And when you buy a link building package, he goes out and places, you know, relevant articles on those Web 2.0 sites, you know, and with link building, you know, with links pointing to your target URLs, whatever you submitted. Okay, so you understand that. Well, embeds is the exact same network. The only difference is instead of pointing links from the articles on those Web 2.0 networks to your target URLs, instead you take the iframe, he takes the iframe, the embed code, and embeds that in those articles on those Web 2.0 pages. And then you can link build as the second tier, right? You link build to those pages on or posts on those Web 2.0 networks where your properties or assets are embedded. Does that make sense? So in other words, instead of having a hyperlink on the Web 2.0 network pointing to your target URLs, instead your properties, whatever you submitted, your embed codes, are embedded into those posts on the Web 2.0 network. So they're surrounded by relevant content on themed networks. And then if you order the second tier link building to the embeds, then then there's link building done to those posts on those Web 2.0 networks where your embeds sit. Does that make sense? All right, comments on that?
No, that's good enough.
He says, what am I actually buying when I buy embed packages? Like, what's the deliverable I get from MGYB team? When buying links, straightforward. I get a spreadsheet of links. Buying embed, sort of confused on what the end product is. It's the same thing. You get the exact same type of report that you do from a link building report. If you click, so again, if you buy, you know, whatever 2,500 embeds, then you're going to get a G sheet, a Google sheet that has your 2,500 embed URLs where you can click through and go view the post or page, whatever, where your embed or your iframe resides. Does that make sense? So again, it's that you get the exact same type of report as you would a link building report. It's the same network. So, okay. Hopefully that clears that up for you. The next question is, are old tools like Syndwire and other social bookmarks still useful for anything in SEO or to get social signals for our websites? If so, what's a good way to get different signals from places like Reddit, Twitter, etc.? I don't know. I stopped using those tools a long time ago. I'm sure I still have Syndwire somewhere because I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, probably well over 1,000 profiles in there. And I used it quite a bit, but that was years ago. I stopped using that stuff years and years ago. I don't know. Honestly, I can't answer that. Those tools can probably be useful for like building links to your tier 1 entity assets or to, you know, use them as second tier or third tier links to stuff. I don't know that I would do it directly to the money site. In fact, I wouldn't do it directly to the money site. gsite, yeah. Drive stack profiles and tier 1 entity assets, stuff like that. I don't run any of those tools just because it's too time consuming for me. And I don't really enjoy doing that kind of stuff. There's probably a use for them, but I don't use them. What do you think, Marco?
I haven't used bookmarking sites other than what's in our syndication network in forever.
Yeah.
because we get really good results. By the way, we're attacking the entity, and the way that we do things. I mean, it's just the results are there, and there's no reason to go and get anything extra. And when we do it, need extra power, we can go get it elsewhere rather than from these bookmarking sites. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. I don't know enough anymore about social bookmarking or bookmarking sites and whether they have SEO value to tell you whether they do. So I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying, I'm just saying I don't use them.
Yeah. Okay. If so, what's a good way to get different signals from places like Reddit, Twitter, etc.? Well, we talked about that in the beginning of today. Paid traffic from relevant audiences from those platforms is the best way to do it. It's because you're buying real traffic that is from a relevant audience that, stands a good chance of actually converting, whatever your conversion goal may be, to become an opt-in, a lead, request an estimate, buy a product, whatever your conversion goal is. So that's just the way that I do it also. All right. Next, in the webinar from last week, somebody mentioned CTR, which is click-through rate using mturk, Mechanical Turk, which is effective, which isn't effective much now. Is there any other tools, any other useful tools like mturk for SEO? I don't know, because I don't use that for anything else. Like Microtask Workers was one of them. mturk, Mechanical Turk, which is an Amazon company, same thing. It's like Microtask Workers. It's a microtask platform. I used it specifically for CTR spam, right, for manipulating click-through rate. But that was years ago, because then it was automated by a lot of these spam bots, these CT spam bots. And now I just use paid traffic. So I don't know what else. I mean, if you've got small tasks that you need, repetitive tasks that you can hire somebody to do, like through something like that, then I'm sure there might be some other uses for it. But it's been a long time since I've hired any Microtask Workers, so can't really give you any guidance on that. Anybody here? Okay. Austin Don, what's up, man? He says, would you advise linking to city pages from the home page and then linking city pages to each other? This is for a site with about 10 to 15 or so city pages. I would not. And the reason why I wouldn't do that, now linking from the homepage to individual city pages, that may be fine. Depends on, what it is you're trying to do. But for example, like if you had like a locations tab in the navigation menu and you hover over that tab and it's a drop down and it's got, 10 city landing, like 10 links to going each city page, that may be fine. Why I wouldn't link from one city page to another, I mean, you may be able to get away with it. I need more context to be able to provide any guidance on that, because the way that I do things, again, Austin Don, you can go to semanticmastery.com/process, which you've probably already seen that by now. But if you haven't, go through that, go to the website tab and watch the training I talk about silo structure, and specifically location silos using tags within WordPress. And the reason, so I wouldn't be linking between cities, cross-linking from one city page to another, because I silo my locations into location-based silos. And so if I want to link from one location silo to another for user experience, for navigation purposes, which makes sense, right? That's logical in some cases to do that. Then I would do that with a no-follow link so that I'm not bleeding the theme of that location silo into another, because that creates confusion, right? Ambiguity between silos, between topical themes. In this case, they're location-based themes. Does that make sense? So I wouldn't do that. I would have a silo structure on my main money site. And again, semanticmastery.com/process. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I use categories for topical silos and tags for location-based silos. And I keep all of my silos incredibly tight, all the internal linking between them. Because as Marco was talking about at the beginning of this webinar, and again, you can go look at that Majestic blog post that I posted earlier talking about the link graphs. And if you understand how to amass or accrue power in certain spots, and then how to direct that power through very targeted points, and again, silo structure is how you can accomplish that. Then you'd understand why you wouldn't want to cross-link between location pages, because you can essentially bleed any power from any one silo to where it's kind of like it becomes more of a flat site. In other words, you ambiguate each one of the topical themes from each silo. And I wouldn't want to do that. But again, without having more context, I can't give you real solid guidance on that. Hopefully that didn't confuse anybody. Mark, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't because I hate having to answer these things. It's not the way that I silo. It's not the way that I would recommend siloing. I don't recommend breaking up the way that it's siloed. If you want further insight into that, you're welcome to join me in the Heavy Hitter Club where we go in depth into why you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question says, is there any SEO benefit to Google redirects like? Yes, there is. I can't disclose why, but there is absolutely a benefit to that.
Guys, you don't have to come here and ask us. Try it.
Yeah.
Try and see how it works.
I can't disclose why here because that's an RYS Academy secret. So I can't disclose that here. There is absolutely a benefit to using that link, that URL format, but it's a redirect from Google, but only if you know how to use it correctly, and that is taught in RYS Academy, so I can't share that here.
We've always said, man, there's power in using Google to rank in Google. Rank Your Shit Academy Reloaded. The foundation of it all is Google trusts Google. So we're going to go and we're going to draw as much power as we can out of Google. And anytime that you can find a Google property to manipulate, just learn to manipulate it. That's it. Yeah. That's the concept.
So there's BB. It's not too many questions, BB, but it's BB. He says, hey guys, which server do you use? I use two. I use either Liquid Web. Well, I use both. I use Liquid Web and I use WPX hosting. I like both of them. And also for a lot of like tests, I use SiteGround reseller for like a lot of like test sites and, like feeder sites and things like, not necessarily PBNs. I could use it for that, but that I wouldn't put money sites on SiteGround, not reseller hosting for sure. But for money sites, I use Liquid Web or WPX hosting.
Yeah, I use Liquid and I use AWS. I use Amazon. I use the shit out of Amazon. Everybody does. I don't know how anyone can go without using Amazon nowadays. But if it's something that I really care about, where like I don't want to have what do you call it? Someone that has to go into the server. I don't want to have to pay someone. I want to just pay someone to go and talk to the Liquid Web support for me. They're fantastic. You go, you call them, they'll do whatever it is that you need them to do. They'll help you with whatever help you need. Those people, I don't know how they do it, but I can't recommend them enough. You got the speed, you got a VPS, by the way, and then you can just keep upgrading. You can upgrade to a dedicated server, but you'll never need to pay somebody else, someone outside of Liquid Web to come and work on the server because they'll do it. You can't lose. By the way, look at the list of clients who use Liquid Web and you'll understand why we use Liquid Web.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I just want to reiterate, I also use WPX. I'm really happy with WPX also. That's Terry Kyle is behind that, and their support is fantastic at WPX as well. It rivals Liquid Web support. So again, I'm really, really happy with WPX. I've had a hosting account with them for like 3 years, and they keep rolling out new features that don't cost anything else. Like it's just, they keep adding additional features, and their support is super, super fast. You can live chat like almost instantaneously. So it's a really good service. So either one or the other, both of them, I endorse both. All right. So then the next question is, what is happening with Virginia SEO? So you're probably talking about the SEO, or excuse me, the first drive stack that I ever built, the crude one from the Virginia SEO project from May 2015. I went in about, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks ago and made some changes to it, and it tanked. Yeah, I did. It tanked. I don't even know if it's in the, I haven't looked at it in a few weeks, but I know a few weeks ago it wasn't even on page 1 anymore.
I can guarantee it's still first page. I don't even have to look. It can't have fallen off that much.
Yeah, it did. It did. Let's
do the search right now, man. I'll put my money where my mouth is. Go.
I mean, maybe one of the keywords. There was several variations that.
Yeah, just use that as SEO Virginia. Just go to the top, right? Or Virginia SEO. Okay, they're using schema.
Big Bamboo Marketing. No, that's
still
not
benefiting.
it. See?
There's a site.
No, that's not mine. That's
someone
else.
is using a gsite. Look at that.
Yeah, somebody else's.
Okay, well, that's Big Bamboo. That's pushed by
well, that is, yeah, and
stack.
that might have been one of the, so I went in and made some changes to it because I said, you know what, I ought to probably go in and make some updates to this. And then, but honestly, it was just because I had some spare time, which is I don't anymore at the time when I went in to play with it. And after I made those changes, it tanked. And I was just like, oh shit. And I honestly, it was, I am not looking for, look at that. It's not even on page 2.
Oh, so you killed it. You killed Virginia SEO.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's still indexed,
How
but
dare
it's not.
you?
Bradley, shame on you.
Yeah, and it was funny because, like, honestly, I'm not interested in spending any time on trying to revive that because it was great to point to for examples as how powerful drive stacks can be. But I went in and made some changes. Like I said, there it is right there. So on Virginia SEO Agency, it's at the bottom of page 2. And I promise you, remember, guys, it stayed ranking for over 5 years, about 5.5 years. And I did nothing to it. No link building, nothing. And went up about 6 or 8 months ago when I noticed it had dropped 3 or 4 spots from number 1 down to 4 or 5 for several of the keywords. I did one freaking press release and it pushed it right back up to number 1 for about 4 or 5 months. And then I went in and made some changes. So like I said, if I wanted to spend some time on this or money for that matter, not even time, I could just buy some link building gigs to this and probably push it back up. But it was used for nothing other than just as a something to show. I will not take just general SEO clients anymore at all. So if I were because I did generate leads from that, but I won't, now unless they're a tree service contractor, I flat out won't even quote anybody. So there's really no point in me spending any time or money on that site anymore. I'm working on a national project right now that I will share when the time is appropriate. And that'll be, kind of the new case study that I'll run with for semantic mastery for the next several years, because it's the biggest project I've ever worked on in my digital marketing career. And I'm super excited about it, but I can't share what that is right now. So,
all right, but we can share DC Plumber.
Sure you can.
We can do that. Why don't you let's spend another minute and just real quick.
Number 1, number 2 in organic.
Thank you.
And there's the
the companion for the other one.
The root domain, the self-hosted domain for that same project. So number 4 in organic. DC.
All right. Those got a proper drive stack and a proper G site. One of those is the G site, which outperforms everything. So there you go. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and sometimes you have Bradley breaking shit.
Yeah. But for 5.5 years, other than, like I said, about 6 or 8 months ago, I did one press release because it dropped about middle of page 1. After 5 years with no link building, nothing, it was a number 1 position. And every now and then it would bounce to like number 2 or number 3. But for 4 or 5 main keywords, it was always ranked number 1 for years. And what's funny is some of those competitors now that have Google sites listed on page 1, I promise you that they went and either bought drive stacks from us or reverse engineered and replicated what I did. And those were other Virginia SEO agencies that did that. So for 5 years, I was ranked number 1 with no link building, no press releases, nothing, from a very crude SEO Shield. It wasn't even called that. A drive stack that I built. It wasn't built properly, wasn't interlinked properly, and there was nothing done to it. So I'm a believer, and I'm going to remain a believer. I don't care if it's dropped to page 2 now when I haven't done anything. Well, I edited it and I shouldn't have. So anyway, that was it. I think we got to all the questions today.
I think so too.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for being here, guys. We will see you all